everybody. Good morning. This is your host, Jordan Tremaine, and welcome to the Perspective Podcast, where we explore new thoughts, connect ideas, and offer perspectives that may change the way you think about a thing or two. And today, we're going to talk about something called Spimes. All right. So, the Perspective Podcast is about, if you haven't already, please go back and listen to the what is a perspective, because it's a totally made-up word. It's about explaining the different sides of a perspective, trying to look at the different aspects of something to give us a greater understanding of it, to look at the diamond from different ways and have the light go through the diamond in different ways so we can appreciate all of the beauty, not just from one angle. And I think part of that is about expanding our concepts. And so from now and in the future, there's going to be some episodes where it's not a concept that I came up with, but I think they're interesting concepts that help expand the way we think and give us new pictures and new words and new concepts to explain. And today, one of those, which I definitely did not come up with, but I'm going to talk about a little bit, is called a spime. It's like a spine, like the thing that runs from your skull to your butt. But it's with an M, so S-P-I-M-E-S, or S-P-I-M-E. If it's plural, then it has an S on the end. But a spime, if your entire life was a single object, it would be a spime. And so it's about looking at something outside of time. Where, let's take Bob, and Bob's entire life, from the moment that he's conceived till he dies, his entire existence, let's look at his entire existence as if it was a loaf of bread. And I'm thinking Wonder Bread, not sourdough bread, so like it's more like a bar rather than like a circle. And so as Bob is born and as he grows up and lives his life, it's as if you're looking at the one end of the Wonder Bread. Like, let's say the Wonder Bread is cut into slices. You're looking at one end, which is when he's born. You could pick up the first slice, and that's like the first moment he was born. You put that down. You pick up the next slice. That's when he's a little bit older. You can put it down, pick up the next slice. Maybe that's when he's a toddler. And you can slowly move through the loaf by picking up different slices. And each snapshot or each slice of the bread out of the loaf is one particular moment in Bob's life. And what you are right now in this moment is one slice of bread in the loaf of bread that is your life. And this may be hard to visualize because it would be a very complicated shape to say, like, what are all the moments of your life put together of you as a physical object? But I think as a concept, it's kind of interesting to say, like, your life is an object and your life has a shape. And who you are right now in this moment is just a slice of that. It's like your life is a deck of cards, and you right now are just one card in that deck. And as you move on in your life, as you grow in your life, you're like the next card, and the next card, and the next card, and the next card. And then when you look back at your life, it's like a stack of cards. It's like the loaf of bread. It's like all of the bread, not just one slice. And this, I think, is interesting because it allows us to have one word to easily explain a concept, and I think it helps look at our lives talking about in the moment versus over the entire time. And a concept that I hope I don't butcher that I learned recently, I guess they were like Greek gods. There's a lot of Greek gods, and two of them are time gods. I think these are Greek gods. One of them is Kronos, and another one is Kairos, or Kairos. And Kronos, like he I think, is the god of time. Like, oh, time is infinite. Oh, the vast amount of time. Oh, so grand and infinite. And I would say he's more of the loaf of bread god. He's the god of the loaf of bread. In Kairos, he's more of like, what's going on in this moment? How am I feeling in this moment? How is this affecting me? And I think Kairos is more of the god of the slice of bread. And not to say you should worship gods, not to say that the Greek gods are the real gods or the fake gods or whatever, just as a concept, like being able to switch between looking at something Chronos and looking at something Kairos, looking at something loaf or looking at something slice. And I think it's a really interesting concept, number one, because there's this idea that like a person's life is their masterpiece. It's the work that they've been progressing on for their entire existence, and so their life is this painting of their experience. And what does your spime look like, and what do you want it to look like, and why does it look the way that it does look? I think a lot of times we feel that because we are we have a past history, we have some bread that's already been made. The way I think about it is like a loaf of bread is your total life. So that's like after you've died. You have the full loaf of bread. But before you died, it doesn't really work like bread. It works more like toothpaste, where like you're squeezing toothpaste out of a tube, and as it comes out of the tube, that point right where it comes out of the tube is like right now. And like there's toothpaste that already came out, but we don't know what the final shape is going to be because all the toothpaste hasn't come out of the tube yet, and that's how we live. And so like the bread hasn't come out of the tube all the way yet. So I think it can be kind of interesting to have that thought experience or that thought exercise and say like, okay, well, what shape is my life? How does my life how has it panned out so far, and what do I want it to look like? Because one of the things that I think, if you want to zoom in and be very geometrical about this, it's like, okay, so if your life has to be a consistent shape, if your life has to be a loaf of bread, if your life has to be an object, to an extent, there's going to be kind of like a smooth shape to your life. Your life can't really make too many like crazy adjustments in cross-sectional area or width or height or whatever within a short period of time. So like if your life has been expanding over time, then you can look at it and say like, oh, then I can expect it to expand more. Or if it has been staying the same diameter like a loaf of bread regularly does, like I think if you're like a normal basic person, which I think most people are normal basic people, which is like the whole definition of normal, and there's nothing wrong with being normal. If you're normal and that's who you are, good for you. Not everybody is Superman, and not everybody saves the planet. Most people work for a paycheck and they go home to their families, and that's totally fine. If you're like a stable, steady person, I think your spime or your loaf of bread would look kind of consistent all the way through because you've kind of done the same things. And you know, the ends of a loaf of bread, they're a little like smaller, and then as you get more to the middle, it's wider, but it's like a stable base, and then you get to the end and it's smaller again. And I think that describes the basic human's life very well. Like in the beginning, you start out very physically small and you learn a lot, you grow a lot, and your world is expanding, and then you get to this point where you're like an adult and you kind of have this stable life where, you know, you go to work and you like have kids, and then you like watch TV, and maybe you drink a beer on Friday, and it's kind of like stable, and that could happen for like 20, 30, 40 years or whatever. And then you get old and your life starts to shrink. Like your kids move out, you don't get to deal with them anymore. You get old, so you can't go do reckless, dangerous stuff as much anymore. Maybe your mind starts like pooping out on you, so you can't think thoughts as good anymore. And you slowly start like shrinking down until like you're dead. And that's the end of the loaf. I think that's like the regular basic model, which is the Wonder Bread model. Haha, for being basic. And that's fine. Like, it's okay to eat sandwiches made out of Wonder Bread, and there's nothing wrong with Wonder Bread. But in terms of like you or anybody thinking about their life, I think this is a interesting like foundation or scaffolding to try and say like, okay, how is my life going? How has my life been going? If I want to change the way my life is, if I want to have a different style of life, I think this can be kind of an interesting way to like plant the seed of that idea and grow it in this garden. So I think this is a pretty simple concept, and I'm kind of like getting into the weeds on it. But a spime is basically this object that represents anything experienced through a length of time. So it's not just your life. Like my cup can be on my table for 15 years. And so my cup has existed for 15 years. And so there's a spime, there's a shape of my cup through that 15 years. There's a shape of my dog through its life. There's a shape of the planet through its life. There's a shape of the universe through its life. But it's saying like, imagine an object existing over a period of time. And all of the information, all of that object over that period of time is shown or represented as an object itself. That object is a spime. And I think it's easy to talk about it as like you. So like Bob's entire life, him growing, learning, all that stuff, him as a person throughout his entire life, each moment is like a slice of bread. Any Bob at one particular moment, if you took a picture of Bob, that would be like a slice of bread. If you put all of those slices together, or all those pictures together, you get a loaf of bread, or you'd get a deck of cards. You wouldn't just have that one card or that one picture. You'd have a loaf of bread. And this is basically, you can have a spime for anything that moves through time. But I think it's an interesting concept. And yeah, it's something that I think about periodically. So I hope this made sense, and I hope that it can like clock on and give you some epitomes at some point in your life. Maybe right now, maybe later. Sometimes you gotta have ideas sit in your mind for a while and simmer and mix with other stuff before it gets really good. But this has been the Perspective Podcast episode on Spimes, and I hope this leads to a good conversation or a good idea somewhere down the road. Anyways, I'll see you later.